The African mysteries. And basically I brought that out because a lot of nationalists, a lot of people, look at metaphysics as being otherworldly, spooky, non-tangible, and when in actuality they are following the interpretation of the dominant Western thinking. That's true. Because they say it's pseudoscience. And back in the day, we say anything the enemy supports, we oppose. Because we know there got to be some gold there somewhere to tell you don't go that way. So, and the point is, though, and I'm trying to find that section here, where he stated where the true, and give me a minute, I was running trying to make all these copies, I didn't have time to really outline this stuff. Okay. On page 48, second paragraph. It says, in August 1921, at the second UNIE International Convention, Garvey says, I am very pleased to see some of the banners in the parade today. One of the banners read this way: Negroes have mastered the hidden mysteries of Africa. I'm glad that our scientists have discovered the hidden mysteries of Africa. And you know what that means. Men can shoot at you and you do not die. The hidden mysteries of Africa have been the wonder of the world. For centuries, explorers have been trying to unfathom the mysteries of Africa. But thank God the banner said yesterday that we ourselves have discovered the hidden mysteries. Others in the future will fight with their airplanes and we will fight with our hidden mysteries. Let them find out what that is. They hid it away for 300 years and we will hide it away till we meet now on the battle plane of Africa. He says, we're getting somewhere now. We're moving closer to what I am trying to draw to your attention. That there are two competing levels in Garvey's thought that are intensely balanced. On the one hand, a theory of physical force, and on the other, I will now show you, was the philosophy of the African mysteries. Blah, 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 blah. And we go on to that. And there's one more piece he says here at the bottom. Garvey said in August 1924, we are going back to Africa with our native intelligence, native brawn and manhood, and with our latent powers. The world has not seen anything yet. The Negro has hidden his civilization and buried it for hundreds of years, and we will now resurrect it. They have tried to search for it, excavating the tomb of Tutankhamun, but they have discovered nothing yet. Talk about the African mysteries. They have not seen them yet. The Negro has yet given to the world that which is still in him. And when we start to give it to the world, it will be for the blessing of the world and all humanity. Sure. Not just for black people. Again, the theme of universal brotherhood surfaces and emerges, but in the context now of the unfolding of this African science that is peculiar to the African. Then in February of 1928, Garvey said, some people say, how, Garvey, can you be talking about a Negro nation? In Africa, there are big governments. How are you going to oppose or fight them? Expecting that I'm going to tell how I'm going to organize to do that. That is Africa's secret. We may not have to fight with armies and battleships, but we must fight them always with brains. That is the weapon of the future. Brains. Develop brains. Scientific brains. No man knows what is encased in other man's brain. And let me tell you, the world does not know what is locked up in Africa's brain. They may be looking for us with battleships and big armies and deadly guns. But who is to tell that our scientists are not on the way with something more ready, more quick, more satisfying than battleships or even armies?
Just want to look at this picture one more time while you said that. That's on the wall.
The mysteries of the world are still hidden from a highly developed apparent civilization. Today's civilization does not know 1/1,000,000th of the mystery that is held by the universe. With all that you see in our civilization, we are only at the point of child's play with nature's laws and nature's mystery. And still man is in the reign of his power as a creature taking his universal place in the universe of the all-creator God. As God out of chaos created the universe, so he has given power to man to create out of the universe, out of nature, things that may appeal to him most. And out of the elements they have made armaments and battleships, but still out of this mystery of nature, we may make things greater than armaments and battleships, and we're not going to tell it to the world until we are ready. What does all of this talk about the African mysteries? On June 6, 1928, Garvey, speaking to an audience in England, says, "No race has the last word on culture and civilization. You do not know what the black man is capable of. You do not know what he is thinking. You are thinking in terms of battleships, of dreadnoughts, of submarines, or airplanes. Do you know what we are thinking about? That is our private business. So give us credit for being able to use our minds, and with people becoming more conscious of themselves, determined to use their minds, you don't know to what extent they can go." He talks about George Washington Carver in Tuskegee, and that's a whole other story. People are not aware of George Washington Carver and the level of spiritual development he had achieved, then we're truly missing the lessons that all our great teachers are here to give us, because we get caught up in the politics of the outer dialogue between personalities. So that's just a hint, word to the wise. So I read that and also gave you the whole article. So hopefully to motivate you to understand the significance and the need to re-embrace the mysteries, and that the salvation of not only the race but the world is based upon us reuniting, internalizing, understanding, and utilizing our African mysteries. Anything short of that will not reach completion. It will not reach fulfillment. Now, I was reviewing the word Hotep that people say is peace. But the other definition for Hotep is completion and fulfillment. And then you think, after the world was created, what took place? Rest or peace. Which means you can't have peace until the job is done. And Hotep was big. Hotep, take out the vowels, right? Because we didn't have vowels. Is the opposite of Ptah. So then, what did Ptah, where does Ptah fall in the creation story?
He's mountain of the moon where God has the world.
That's where creation starts. Coming out of the nothing. And then what is the opposite? So when you start talking about Hotep, understand what you're really saying. Okay. This is lightweight stuff. You know what I'm saying? Really. Always when I talk to black people, it's like our memory has been erased. We do not know how deep we really are. We really do not know. Because if we knew, we would be running to ourselves. Not walking, running, not jogging, running to ourselves. And it always gets better. Once you start, it always gets better. Even in the adversity and the stress, out of that, because the way your mind is, it makes you grow. No matter what. Although the physical form might be going through whatever, your consciousness, once you tune in, is going to always elevate, always grow from it. It's deep, I'm telling you. Okay, let's get on to it.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to do a summary. Basically what we went over is astronomy. And we kind of went over the understanding of the energetic nature of the universe. We talked about how, let's see if I got some handouts for you. Yeah, I'll pass this out.
You said earlier that we didn't use vowels, but I noticed that A is used a lot. Like for example, Asar, I said, there's cases where A is not really considered to be vowels, or they're used sometimes.
If you go probably back to the pure hieroglyphic, because then we get the difference between the spoken word and the word that's used in communicating, and the word that is actually used in defining the philosophical concept or cosmic principle. And so then in translating that word into the context that you use it in, then you put the various vowels in there that gives it the context. And so,
It's just A, letter A is over.
right. What I want to go over with this, if everybody has a copy of this?
Three more.
Three more. Here's one more. Y'all keep surprising me. Somebody that some of y'all have this. The older students should have this. So those who are new should get it. Well, I passed it out before. So it says, Kemet observed the heavens with so much precision, and the information was put to practical use in agriculture, geodesy, and the system of weights and measures. But at the same time, the data of astronomy was studied for its meaning. It served the purpose of astrology, which is the study of correspondences between events in the heavens and events on earth. The higher animals, as well as the human animal, are totally bathed in a psychic, which is energetic, atmosphere, because all things are vibrations. Everything is energy, because everything is based upon atoms, creates molecules, which then creates organs, bones, hair, etc. But at the foundation is energetic. And energy is a function of light. All energy comes from the primal light, which then breaks off. The primal light breaks off into particles, protons, and electrons, and then it goes into subatomic particles, and it goes into protons, electrons, and it goes into atoms. And from atoms, it goes into molecules. From molecules, you have matter. All this is related. Everybody hopefully remember. We keep going over it because I'll say these things that people look like they don't remember. So you have light. This is significant because there's consistent, reoccurring themes that will come up. And light, if you really look at light, this is, and I emphasize this because most of us do not reflect, meditate, and contemplate on the key ideas. It's very important because as you meditate and contemplate on the key ideas, you reconnect with your own primal consciousness. Because the resident is, all that is resident in you. All that is resident in you. We have just lost the techniques of deciphering the information out of ourselves. The technique is to meditate, to contemplate, and to reflect deeply on things because they have multiple meanings. Okay, I'm just giving you a key because as we go through this, you're going to see reoccurring themes come up. To the degree that you become grounded in these key ideas, you will have all kinds of insights that just pop out at you as you go through the material. To the degree that you don't study the material, you ain't going to understand what's going on. Because you got to struggle. You do not struggle. What it says, power conceives nothing without a demand. The power of knowing conceives nothing without a demand.
Never had, never will.
Right. So light, oh boy, broke down into particles, which are usually a positive and negative. Right, you got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then you have atoms. Then you have molecules, really molecules are here. Right. Then from here you have vegetable, which is start dealing with photosynthesis. Then you have animal. Then you have consciousness. Because humans, the only thing that differentiates humans is our reflective consciousness. Because our physical form is a mammal. But consciousness differentiates us. If we operate from consciousness, some people ain't differentiated from animals. Because the consciousness is operating at that level. Then consciousness is infinite. Because on the level, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So consciousness and light, you can say Ptah and Hotep, Alpha and Omega. But light is energy. All of these dominions or realms or worlds or bodies are just different expressions of energy. I said, oh, that's that. But look at the patterns that I'm putting up here, because all that stuff is essential. Because as we go into the mythology and the symbolism and the temples, you're going to see the same pattern over and over again. If you understand the basic meaning of the pattern, you can decipher what the symbol is trying to tell you. And once you see the basic pattern, you'll see the point, because it's the same point. So now back to this, says the higher animals and as well as the human animal are totally bathed in a psychic atmosphere, which establishes a bond between the individuals. You need to reflect on what this is saying. A bond as explicit as the air which is breathed by all living things. In this psychic ambience or atmosphere, every human can be compared to a radiating energetic source offering a kind of vibration of its own which is received by the other beings. When people talk about the vibes wasn't cool, you know, or sums up, vibes ain't right. Beings can be more or less aware of this, depending on the degree of their mental neutrality. I mean, so how is your mind occupied? You know, our minds, that's why the difference between the lower mind and the higher mind. The lower mind, you're constantly occupied by, you know, the appetites. You know, I want something to eat, I want some sex, I want to look good, I want somebody to like me, I want power, you know, I want a car, I want a cool job, you know, sensation. Your mind constantly focused there, then it creates static for you to tune in to the higher forces. In a psychic medium, these impulses are comparable to sounds in the physical medium of air. The psychic substance forms a body for the human as clearly defined as the physical body. This body subsists for a certain time after the death of the physical body's corporal form. Talking about the astral form. But the key thing here is that we operate in an energetic world. You have the universe, right? Infinite universe. full of energy, space, entities. Then we have our galaxy. A spiral. All this is spiraling and spinning. In the galaxy, we got a solar system. Within the solar system, which is based around the sun, then you have the various planets, right? And those planets are spinning. Then you have, well, I can go down. Then you have the Earth. Then on the Earth, you got a mineral kingdom. On top of the mineral kingdom, you have an animal kingdom that feeds off the vegetable kingdom. And on top of the animal kingdom, you have the human kingdom, which is the kingdom of mind. Each of these levels or dimensions is actually the evolution of the earth and fulfilling its potential. So the earth is a living organism as a part of a galaxy, which is a part of a solar system, part of a galaxy, which is part of the universe, that's moving to fulfill potential. It's moving to actualize creative potential. So it is creating forms that have the capacity to register the source of creation, which is what? What's the source of creation?
Light.
Right. If light is the source of creation, to register that source of creation, you have to develop what?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. So the organism, the earth, is evolving forms with the capacity to register and understand creation. And all this is within the context of energy. And so astronomy, then the form that our solar system takes is a form or a pattern that first existed before we existed. The solar system and the planets and those cycles existed prior to our existence. That means that those patterns are embedded and inherent in us because we are a product of those various energies interacting with each other. If those energies were not in those or in a different pattern, we would not evolve in the form that we have. So that means that there is a relationship, and we'll get to that next. There's a relationship between the astronomical world and the terrestrial world. They're linked together in a cosmic plan to evolve consciousness to recognize light, creative energy. So now we come to the next piece. The Unter or Netter is a functional principle and not a god. So this gets back into how they try to characterize Africans as worshiping trees and rocks and rivers and frogs and snakes and all these kinds of things, when what we were acknowledging was the quality or the functional principle that it represents, and not the physical thing itself. But again, because our memory has been removed, and now we are conditioned by or miseducated by an oppressive system, we now have bought in to their worldview, which is a materialistic, linear worldview. That's why we run away from our own culture, because we don't even understand what it's really all about. When on the slide, they are researching and coveting as much of it as they can get.
That's right. That's right.
So the principle of harmony is cosmic law, the voice of God. We're talking about Maya, which deals with harmony and balance. So Maya, or harmony and balance, is related to the voice of God. You can't see God or the creative principle, but only witness its creations. The idea of form antecedes physical definition. This is the key idea here. The idea of form antecedes or comes before physical definition. These functions are ideas which preside over forms, and functions were called enters or netters. There are no gods in existence. God is. Only in created nature do the divine qualities show themselves, and then they exist. And the enters exist. You need to study Memphite theology. Go back, and if you haven't reviewed it, go back in the Stolen Legacy and review Memphite theology. If you become well-grounded in the Memphite theology, you will really understand the foundation of contemporary religion. It is so simple, but so profound. Activity does not make the entity. An abstract harmony, energetic in nature, summons the entity, creates it. Understand this. An abstract harmony, energetic in nature, summons the entity, creates it. Effect is immanent in the cause. It appears in obedience to a harmonic law, which is order divine. Now I'm going to go to page in Stolen Legacy, page 114, 115. Talk about the doctrines of Aristotle. And we have to understand, sometimes we say, oh, I don't study Aristotle, I don't study Pythagoras and Plato, all those guys, the Europeans, you know, they don't know what they're talking about. In their day, they acknowledge where the knowledge came from.
Right.
They acknowledge who their teachers were, who were Africans. It's only after them that they removed that to get you to think that they were the one. They didn't say that. But that's to get you not to really get deep into it, and also not to know where the source came. I said to say that by studying their ideas comparatively, you also start to understand your ideas. And so, this chapter deals with metaphysics as a science of being. And then you have actuality, perfection, and actuality. And you have potentiality, which is the capacity for perfection. Now go back to this piece on Ptah and Hotep. Because if you get into Memphite theology and understand the role that Ptah plays in the Memphite theology, you will really understand what's the message. And also what Hotep is really talking about. So he states that all created beings are composed of actuality and potentiality. These two principles are present and are mixed in all created beings except one, whose being is actuality and includes the composition of matter and form, substance and accident, and its faculties of active and passive and intellect. So we're going on that. Then you have the principles of being in the physical realm. This is critical because we're talking about manifesting. The key thing out of all this, if we can't manifest it, we can't use this to transform our physical reality, is of no use. We're just doing mental gymnastics or mental masturbation, all those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Because at heart, I'm an activist. More to it than that, but I'm not going to put it on the tape. But that's what time it is. Serious business. Serious business. And we can talk about astronomical, we can get into some astronomical cycle that we're going into now that's leading to Nazism. It's coming down too tough. 2010, lockdown. We don't have a revolutionary underground network on a global basis established. It's going to be total catastrophe for us as a people. All the prelims that came out in the 60s was a preview of coming events. Because our sight is so small in terms of time-space patterns, we don't understand. We think it's a fad. Oh, that was then, you know. We don't understand. Like you have dreams. They give you previews of things that happen later on in your life. But if your consciousness is not trained properly, you dismiss it as being nothing. Everything that happens for a purpose, because there is a greater plan that all of us are participants. We're being summoned. You are summoned here to do work. To this place.
To this earth.
To this physical manifestation, right? You were summoned here to do work. Because you represent a certain energetic quality that's necessary to fulfill the whole, to take it to completion. That's the only reason you're here. Because that's the whole point. The whole point is to achieve completion. Everything else is secondary, ancillary, superficial, unnecessary. Right. And so if you, I can put this in, if you look at the times that you exist in, and if you just reflect on what you perceive, you will know what your job is. If you just reflect on what you perceive, not what your conditioned mind talks you out of, but what you really perceive in your heart. That's your orders. Then you got to have a heart to follow it. The lion's grip. How was the fallen master raised? With the lion's grip. What does that represent?
But
the
they
lion.
know to a living perpendicular, right?
Right. Right. The horizontal is the material. The perpendicular is the spiritual. And the lion's grip is Leo. And the key word for Leo is I will. The will is the courage of a lion. Having the heart. But then what was weighing the balance? In the scales against the feather of my eye. Your heart. See, once you understand the symbols, it's telling you the same thing. So then you say, your heart weighed against my eye. And my eye is the voice of God. So, are you following the voice of God in you? And if you follow it, it will provide for you. Because it can see what you cannot see. So, the point I want to get here is talking about the whole thing about idea. The idea of form precedes physical definition. And I go off on these, but I'm just following the flow, so you know that's how it is. So, it says here, principle of being in the physical realm. That's why I was talking about that, because what time it is and how we have to manifest things. So it says there are 4 principles of being in the physical realm, which are called causes. It says, when it says here, it says the cause. Where was that at? Boy. Where?
Final cause, compensation.
No, not there. I'm talking about, I read something else I was looking for. Oh, effect is imminent in the cause. Okay? Effect is imminent in the cause. Imminent means it's going to happen. Right? And what I'm trying to, I guess, focus in, savor in, these become keys in how you can fulfill your own individual life and destiny, and also what it's going to take for us as a people to fulfill our destiny, which also means the fulfillment of human destiny, because we are the seed of the human race. Which, if you want to go back to the analogy, patah. So, it says the four principles of being physical. Matter. Matter is the material cause, is the potentiality or capacity of existence. It is that out of which being is made. So I was talking about how the physical earth, we're made out of the physical earth, so we're a part of the physical earth. So you have matter. 2, form or essence. The formal cause is that which gives actuality to existence. It is that into which a thing is made. So the matter is then formed. When matter is united with form, the result is organized or realized being that has come to existence in the process of nature. So you have matter then taking on form. 3, final cause. Final cause is that for which everything exists. Everything has a purpose, and that purpose is the final cause. So effect is imminent in the cause. Follow my train of thought. A final cause always implies intelligence. But this is not always true in the case of the efficient cause. So it goes down. Consequently, in the realm of nature, every being or living organism is the complex effect of 4 causes. So here we're talking about 4. And 4 is the number of the material world. The 4 elements, out of which the tetragrammaton, out of which creation came out of. All created things are a function of fire, air, earth, and water, which is also related to nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, and I think it's carbon. And we can go on and on in terms of how the 4, we talked about the 4 and the squaring of the circle and all that. So those 4 things are the substance out of which it is made. It's called material cause. The type or idea according to which the embryo tends to develop is the formal cause. The act of creation or generation is the efficient cause. And the purpose or end for which the organism is created is the final cause. In other words, matter, type, creation, and purpose are the 4 principles which underlie all existing things. We can get to a whole series of sessions on this, but again, I want to bring that out because now we're going to deal with idea, which is the final cause. So within the idea is the imminent effect. And now we go into the idea or form antecedes physical definition. These functions are ideas, so ideas are functions. So the idea of a heart, of a liver, of a spleen, of your bloodstream, of your mind, all that is an idea that then brought form together based upon the substance of the environment to fulfill the purpose. So then I say, well, what is your idea of yourself? You see, whatever idea you hold in your mind, energy follows thought. So whatever idea you hold in your mind, the environment, which is the substance you have to work with, will be utilized to create a form to fulfill that idea. So what idea do you have of yourself? What idea do you have of community? What idea do you have of nation? Of religion? What is your worldview? What is your philosophy? So he who controls ideas controls form in the direction upon which things are created. And there's 3 levels of functions or netters, which were related to as the various deities. It's very important to understand these 3 levels. First level, metaphysical level. They talk about the netters as Amun-Ra, Ptah, etc. These are the vital principles. In terms of harmony, they represent harmonic summons. So at the metaphysical level, which is the vital level, you have harmonic summons. Summon at the ultimate level, you're being summoned toward harmony with cosmic order. So when you read the mythology and the relationship that the various deities or netters play to one another is actually scientific formula talking about how these cosmic functions interact with each other and what they produce. When you can read the symbol for what it's really talking about. Just like if you look at a mathematical form that had pi r squared, if nobody told you what that meant, you wouldn't be able to read. It's a hieroglyphic. Well, the same thing was true with the eye and the feathers, and it was the same thing. Scientific formula. Then you have the cosmic. You got the metaphysical level, you have the cosmic level, which are seasonal. Variable as is all of creation, they obey the laws of life and of Genesis in general. So then what's the laws of life in Genesis? When we start off with geometry, we're going to deal with Genesis. How form is generated. Point, line, plane, solid. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, the number of the material world. The 4th level was the mineral world. Generation. Right. Generation. Genesis. And all of it comes out of the 0. We're going to see it all regular polygons or geometrical shapes, which are the forms that govern the creation of all entities, are all related to the 0 in the circle. Or if you go back and get your books on geometry, plane geometry, and look up the definition for regular polygons and see what it says. You do some research and look up the relationship of pi to the circumference of a circle. This is critical because we're talking about astronomy, which is what? Cycles, which are circles. All life is a circle and a cycle, which means all life then conforms to or operates within the context of the relationship of the circumference to the diameter and the radius and the various points along a circle or a cycle. Each of those points then create angles relative to the beginning, which then creates geometrical form. Which means geometrical form then actually equates with phases within a cycle. And a phase within a cycle is a particular phase in Genesis, which has a particular quality and function. So then form and number are equated with particular function. What's what I said? Function and split. Function, I said function. And what I'm trying to show you is that how all this stuff is interrelated. All of it is interconnected. The 7 liberal arts and sciences are really one. We just kind of break them out so you can focus in on them, but when you look at them, it's one. But all of it is equated to the circle. And what's the symbol for God? The ancient symbols for God.
Symbol for the Trinity, right?
Usually it was a circle. Because usually the sun was the physical expression of God, not God. It was a physical expression of the power of life and creation. Because we always understood that the physical form is the effect of a greater cause. But you can only interact with the greater cause through its created form. Follow what I'm saying, and then start to look at traditional religion and how we articulated these ideas and concepts. So cosmic, seasonal. The season, then so when it says seasonal, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? Year round. Cycles.
4 seasons.
4 seasons. So how is that created? What creates the seasons?
The revolution of the earth around the sun.
Right. And
The moon.
yeah, but not really. Come on, y'all. This is basic. Come on, let your mind is coming up with something. First of all, use this as a laboratory for freedom of speech and freedom of thought. Don't get hung up in it's wrong, it's right, you know, I don't like that, whatever. You know, really, because see, when I say certain things, things come to your mind. You need to learn to express that, because it's a point there. It's always a point. Now, it might not be clear and directly related, but it's a point. I'm saying to say that so we can exchange in dialogue, but we got to practice being free. We so conditioned, we can't be free. If we can't get in here and be free, how are we going to go out there and be free? You got to create some kind of a free zone to practice being free. So you get together, so you can go out and...
Earth on its axis.
Earth on its axis. What was that? The tilt of the earth. All right.
And this is how fast the earth spins around.
All that's related.
4 elements.
4 elements in what way?
They cause the season by interacting with each other.
In what way?
Air, usually called air and water.
What in what way? I'm looking at we're talking about what's the activity that actually creates the seasons. And everybody's giving good answers. And yours is not incorrect, but I'm pushing towards something. And basically what I'm pushing toward is, the theme of this presentation is, today is what? Astronomy. Right, astronomy, astrology. So then, it's astronomical. The astronomical phenomena of the orbit of the earth around the sun creates the seasons. And so I said this, so when we see seasonal, you also then should hook up and say, okay, that's the astronomical phenomenon that's going on. Like right now, we are what? We're spinning around, traveling around the sun. We're in a certain location in the cycle, annual cycle around the sun. Those positions then are related to a certain quality. That's why those different months were related to different deities, because the deity represented a function that was operative during that time. Every hour had a deity, because every hour is what? We're spinning around, making a circle, which means that different hours, you create a different angle that is a different function, a different quality. And so the same thing, in your life is a circle, and at different times along your life, it's a different angle, which has a different quality and a different function that is active. And so we talked about the maturation cycle, right? The 72-year cycle, 77-year cycle, 84-year cycle. Those that were here. We talked about, and I kind of finish this up and I'll summarize. Again, I'm trying to also recondition how we approach the knowledge. because we approach the knowledge in a very Eurocentric way. And we have to break that bond on ourselves so that we can look at the multiple connections between these ideas. It's not just one definition. It's multiple definitions relative to the level that the context you're talking about. So then what's the reference point? The reference point qualifies the truth of the statement.
With each rotation of a planet around the sun, that would create huge lines of magnetic flux fields.
Right.
And the flux fields would coordinate the seasons with
Right.
magnetic lines of flux.
Right. Also the amount of heat that penetrates the atmosphere, because as the Earth is tilted to the sun, in terms of the northern and southern hemispheres, then that creates summer and winter. Because the amount of atmosphere between the ultraviolet rays of the sun and the circle of the Earth is either denser or less dense. So either more heat reaches, which is hotter, or less heat reaches, which is colder. And then the amount of daylight to nightlight, in terms of long days, short days, the effect that it has on vegetation, and the energy level. Because everything is dialectics, right? Inhalation, exhalation. You know, drawing out, breathing in. You know, the sap running in trees, it goes up in the spring, starts rising. In the fall, it starts going down and withers up, goes down to seed, roots, come back up. Same process. That's what? Sine wave. Right, which is energy. The tides.
So what was the answer you were looking for? Because I'm still seeing the sun. I'm still hearing.
That's right.
So what was the answer you were looking for?
The sun is right, but the astronomy, the astronomical patterns between the Earth and its orbits around the sun is what creates it. So not just the sun, but it's the pattern. And you're going to now, that's important because we're going to see when we go into geometry that the actual geometrical shape created by the axis, which is based upon the pole of the Earth, the axis that's created when the sun travels, when the Earth travels around the sun, actually creates geometrical patterns that are equal to the major 5 geometrical solids. And that the religious symbolism of the capstones and the rectangle, which was the basis for the temple, and the shape of the sarcophagus and the king's chamber, are all expressions of these geometrical patterns created by the astronomical orbit of the Earth around the sun, and the other patterns created by the astronomical relationship of the planets to the Earth and stars. But because the universe is based upon these basic patterns as the building blocks of all creation, you then can see, we'll also show how the golden section and the divine and royal cubits, how they are expressions of the same geometrical relationships, and they became not only the building blocks for the civilization, they're actually the building blocks for all created things. So then we're going to go into the 3, 4, 5 triangle. We're going to go into pi and theta or phi, and show how those ratios, your human body is actually an expression of those ratios. How animals, shells, plants are all expressions of the same cosmic geometrical patterns. Once you can see this, as you walk through the world, you're going to see the world a totally different view. You look at trees, they're going to be different. You look at leaves, they're going to be, look at people. When you look at time pattern, you're going to start being able to see the significance in time-space patterns relative to its position within a cycle. then you really understand what time it is.
I guess when you put it that way, another one is the electrical magnetic field around the Earth.
Right.
And how the waves, like radio waves, help us communicate spiritually with the animals and trees and with the
You said that?
And
Entree into this.
so I would say electromagnetic field would be another one because of what helps us communicate.
Right. Well, I'll start off saying what we start off saying. We said that the higher animals, as well as the human animal, are totally bathed in a psychic atmosphere which establishes a bond between the individuals, a bond as explicit as the air which is breathed by all living things. In this psychic or magnetic atmosphere, every human can be compared to a radiating energetic source offering a kind of vibration of its own which is received by other human beings. So the hand that I passed out is basically showing how the magnetic field of the earth is transmitted to the pineal gland. So I'm going to have, it's transmitted to the pineal gland. Then also because melanin has the capacity to absorb cosmic radiation and translate that radiation into usable forms. That also indicates, and then there's other things about melanin being the doorway to the collective unconscious and the spiritual mind, how it is the organizing molecule of life. Organizing molecule. If it is the organizing molecule, that means that then it is based upon the prime pattern of creation. Now go back to the statement that African people are seed people. Then go back to the statement about Ma'at, deals with cosmic harmony. Then go back to the understanding then that African people are in a disharmonic state. If African people who are the seed people are in a disharmonic state, then how can the human race be in harmony? Thusly, African people hold the key to the harmonic condition of the earth. If that then is true, then African people have a major responsibility to fulfill. And then if you do not fulfill your responsibility, then you are in disharmony, which creates disease and death. So then why are we really dying? Because we are not in harmony with our true cause. All the physical effects are a function of the inner cause. Negative effects is then the disharmonic expression or disharmonic relationship to the cause. It's not the outer thing, it's the inner thing. Realign yourself in balance with the purpose and cause of your existence, and all those external negativity will disappear. That's true in your personal life, it's true in our community, it's true in the collective, it's true globally, and they're even indicating that the planet Earth has a role to play in the cosmic order of things.
The question I want to find out is, what cycle is it that caused us to slip from the original grace to where we are today, from our ancient ancestors who had reached a state of perfection similar, or was it just a cycle that we're going through now that's on the way taking us back to where we started, or back to where we needed to be?
There's aspects of all that, but my understanding is that everything is happening for a purpose. If the ultimate goal is completion, which is whole, everything is complete, everything is whole, then the ultimate goal of the planet is to become conscious simultaneously. In ancient times, there was only a small minority of individuals that had this knowledge. because of the physical limitations of travel and communication, and also the level of evolution we've reached. At the same time, for someone to be whole, they have to also understand all aspects of themselves. Because the goal is for you to constantly choose the right way. That's why the whole story about paradise, you know, when paradise, we were in paradise, Adam and Eve concept, we didn't know we were naked. That would just mean that we didn't really have conscience. We weren't conscious. We were like in an animal state. We just were. But then to bite from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you now had choice. So now you can become a co-creator because you can consciously create. But then that set in generation to go out and have all the experiences so that you could eventually develop the knowledge to make the right choice. The true test of someone is when they're under adversity, not when everything is fine. The true base of relationship is under adversity, not when everything is fine. The true base of friendship is under adversity, not when everything is fine. That's why I say a friend in need is a friend indeed. You know who your real friends are is when you're down and out. And so the same thing is true for life. Because the ultimate goal is for you to know the truth, not just follow the truth blindly. So then to know that, you have to experience all aspects of good and evil, so you understand that and then can constantly make the choice. So two things. One, the European is actually the northernmost form of a human life. Remember we say how the cause or the idea uses its environment to create the form, to fulfill the goal. So then the idea, the human then migrating to the northern atmosphere, used that material, only had that material to develop itself to move toward the final goal. So then to survive and grow, you had to take on a very aggressive, militaristic, selfish kind of mentality, because that was the nature of the environment. So when that consciousness then came back down and united with the African reality, and a whole set of dynamics started happening, you know, in terms of people seeking the greed and commerce. But underneath all of that is the globe itself moving to network itself together to develop the capacity to be conscious simultaneously. So what has happened, all the negativity that has happened, has only been a very short period of time in the context of the whole human experience. So like, digress, but it's a point. Like when my mother died, the last few years of her life were very traumatic because she was sick and ailing and had different ailments. So she passed. But on the passing, I had to reflect on her whole life. Her whole life was beautiful, except the last little part. But if you take the whole 73 years, take the last 2 or 3 years, and ratio that to 70, it's really inconsequential to the whole. So the whole was really positive. I have to say that we look at slave experience the last 2,000 years as being very tragic and catastrophic and all that. But in the whole, it's only like a blink of the eye. I'm saying all that to say that underneath all of that, where are we technologically with capacity? We're in the capacity now that the whole, almost, we still got areas, we got another 2,000 years to get that. The whole globe can be connected to engage in a simultaneous conversation. Right. Now the thing is, what is the mindset that's going to drive that conversation? Becomes the other element. But the capacity for mass initiation is now capable. So now just think how the globe would be if the mass communication and information system was driven by metaphysical understanding. Boom.
Completion.
That is right. And that's where everything is moving toward. Now the other side, there's always a dialectic, which means you also can be in completion in destruction.
That's right.
We can act so foolishly that we destroy ourselves, destroy the earth's capacity to be used as a substance to create the form to move on this journey. And so, when the universe doesn't lose. In the universe, energy cannot be created or destroyed and change its form. So nothing is lost in the great scheme of things. In an infinite reality, somewhere else in the great galaxies, the process will start again. And it'll keep on until fulfillment occurs. So now the question is, those who know have to educate so that we all understand and then get in harmony with the cause. That's what the work is all about. So that's where I see we are in time and space. That's a whole other lecture to go in terms of the evolutionary process, where we are in the evolutionary process, the different stages of evolution, all that. So stick around, we get through all that. Yes.
So what you're saying in essence is that this would be a prime opportunity for that completion, that we are in a space and time where we could actually realize that completion.
We're in a phase. If we look at, okay, we came out of Pisces the last 2,000 years, which is blind faith, I believe, but Pisces also deals with the dissolving of form. You look at African American people, we have been dissolved as a distinct national entity and now have been merged together as an international entity. African Americans really represent the rainbow people and really the human race. Okay. So, right, but that's only an outer. So, that's one. Age of Aquarius is the age of I know. It's the age of the revealing. It's the age where the hidden mysteries will now be made available to the masses. That's another 2,160 years. After the age of Aquarius comes the age of Capricorn, I use. Within that knowing or that knowledge will be used. Capricorn deals with structure, the state, organization, systems. Will then be actually incorporated into the social order, well, then will function off that knowledge. Once the social order actually functions off that knowledge, the next age is Sagittarius, I see, which deals with the vision, the philosophy, religion, the higher states. So basically, if we operate in tune, age of Aquarius, roughly 2,000 years, age of Capricorn, 2,000 years, Sagittarius, 2,000 years. Another 4,000 years, we have the capacity to reach that ideal state. Now, there will be individuals that achieve it. There may even be communities that achieve it, but they are only like previews or examples of the final destination of the whole. Yes.
What do you mean by when you said we were summoned here for a particular purpose? Who and what summons us?
The metaphysical or the metaphysical level, the level of vital existence, the prime substance that is driving everything, right? That state of being, you can say the creator, you can say God, is calling what it needs to fulfill itself. Okay? So that summons is always calling for the things it needs to fulfill the call. Then the cosmic level or the astronomical level sets the stage for the particular expression, the age. We can go into more detail of that, which I define as the logos, the word, the particular word of the time. If you understand the word of the time or the word of the thing, you can then get in tune with that thing and become empowered. But anyway, I can go off. The summons is the cosmic order is summoning you. See, your life, see, first of all, our school of thought believe in the immortality of the soul. Because energy cannot be created, destroyed, and changed form. And form is a function of a cause or an idea, right? So then we are the divine idea in us, takes on these forms to fulfill itself. Well, until you fulfill yourself or are complete, you have to keep taking on more forms. So that means that you've lived before. And in living before, you've accumulated experience, which is equated with a quality. The particular quality that you represent is then can be used. Like we had a football team, right? We need a good running back. The ideal running back has certain qualities, right? You know, low to the ground, big legs, you know, all that. So then if we want to have a winning team, then you put the call out, you search out to find that characteristics and get them on your team. That same idea is the universe is doing the same thing. The time has a certain quality. The needs of that quality then are summoning the entities to come in to do the necessary work. And then how you work in that life creates a quality that then sets up the qualifications for the next summons. So, finish up here. We have, okay, we're talking about the cosmic netters. They depend directly on astronomical and astrological harmony. They are the harmonic reply to the summons. So the cosmic or astronomical, astrological, or seasonal energies are a reply to the summons, which is a harmonic summons, right? The universe is trying to stay in balance, stay in harmony. Then you have the natural functions or natural netters, which are the functional life of the natural objects, such as the energy for harvest, the energy in the Nile, the energy behind childbearing, behind gestation, behind incubation, so forth. They preside over all reproduction and regeneration, from mineral to man. For the metal is live in its load. What do they mean by it? The metal is live in its load. What do you think it means? The metal is live in its load.
Living earth.
To the living earth? Okay, how does that, so how do you relate that? Is the metal is live in its load.
Sound like a lodestone or a magnet when it draws up things to it. Lodestone, they call it a magnet.
Yeah, you're on the right track. What makes a magnet a magnet? Is it the rock that makes it a magnet? Right. It's the quality resident in it that makes it alive. Not the metal itself. It's the quality of the metal. So you can have some fake gold that looks like gold, but it's not gold. And the quality of it will respond appropriately. You understand what I'm saying? There's a quality there.
So the metal is fulfilling its full potential? Is that what that's
Well, metals, metals don't have choice. Like most animals don't have choice in terms of them expressing the quality. They're just a stage. So metals are what they are, you know. They can't deviate. The metal is live in its load. What makes a set alive is you expressing your true quality is what makes you alive. Not just you walking around dressing, eating, talking, that doesn't make you really alive. What makes you alive is the expression of your quality. That's what makes you alive. You understand what I'm saying?
When I said fulfilling his full potential?
Right. That's right.
Realizing, or at least realizing?
Yeah, I get you. I took it a different way. But you're saying it's fulfilling its potential. That's right. That's right. That's right. So anyway. Okay, so you have those 3 levels. The metaphysical netters are principles of the universe. They direct creation and are not engendered in nature. So the metaphysical level, the vital level, directs creation. And they are represented as having no navel, as with Atum. The netters in general are considered to be without cranial skull caps, which means they are devoid of their own arbitrary judgment. They are powers acting in a set way, the determination of which is made clear by a crown, by a symbol, or by an animal head. They cannot of themselves modify the orientation of the activity. I don't want to get too far into that. Okay. So I wanted to set that, okay, turn on the back. I don't know if I copied the back page. I didn't. I don't think I copied the back page. It's just a 2-sided piece, and on the back, I had copied, it says, for everything, it's a season. And for every activity under heaven, it's time. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to pull down and a time to build up. Whatever is has been already. Whatever is has been already. And whatever is to come has been already. And God summons each event back in its turn. And just think about what came to my mind was when we were talking about why we're here. God summons each event back in its turn. So it's your turn. That's why I said if you listen to your own inner mind, you know what you're supposed to do. Everybody knows. But if you're so conditioned not to listen, you talk yourself out of it. You don't need no astrology, you don't need nothing. All you got to do is listen to yourself. That's why meditation ain't sitting down doing and lotuses and all that. There's a reason why you can do that, and there's techniques that's in there. But the primal simplicity is just be quiet and give your senses a vacation and tune in and do it regularly. And if you do it regularly, eventually you will carry that with you all the time. And you start to operate from the inside as opposed to the outside.
Is that what they meant in the mathematics when they said per in Hebrew, per is like a state of continual consciousness. You know, always alive. Resurrection of the dead, and you coming forth by day.
Right. And so look, coming forth by day. What signifies day? Light. So stay in the light. Okay, and so in summary, so we talked about the cosmic order and the nature of energy and the universe. Then we went into the precession of the equinoxes to talk about the ages in terms of how we're in the Aquarian age. We talked about the sidereal zodiac and the tropical zodiac and how the constellations, which again, that's the constellations, constellations of the zodiac, which are basically a belt of constellations that are with an 18-degree belt around the equator. So you have the equator of the Earth, which is projected into space, which becomes a celestial equator. And then that imaginary line, if you go 18 degrees above and 18 degrees below, that 18-degree belt the stars which are everywhere, those stars which were in that 18-degree belt and are classified as the zodiac constellations, and the position that is on the horizon at the spring equinox as the earth is crossing the ecliptic, going from the southerly to a northerly direction. At that point of crossing, celestial horizon is actually in the constellation of the last stages of Pisces. So we're in the Piscean age. It takes 2,000 years, 2,160 years roughly, for that vernal equinox to travel or point like the hands on a cosmic clock to another cosmic hour, which they call it age. Which then means that's what time it is. That becomes a major theme for that time. Pisces, the fish, Christianity, fish, keywords, faith, blind faith, I believe, Piscean religion. If you believe on the Christ, Jesus Christ, your Savior, Lord Savior, you will be saved. Don't question, just believe. Keywords, Piscean age. Now we go into the age of Aquarius. Keyword, I know, knowledge, electrification, electronics, space travel, innovation, creativity, networks, brotherhood, fellowship, humanity. Information knowledge age. Just look at the trend, look at the dominant keywords all around you, you will see it. You can see it. Then you also can see where somebody's coming from by the keywords and ideas they express. Are they coming from the old age or are they from the new age? It's winter in America. It's winter on the planet. That means externally in the wintertime, what? There's the apparent death. But what is death? Death is transformation. Because nothing stands still. Anything that ends also starts a beginning. So then, on winter, externally there's death, but what's happening inside the ground? The seeds for spring are sprouting in winter. The seeds that sprout in the spring were planted in the winter. So if we win in America, what role are we going to play? Are you going to be a seed or are you going to be a leaf? If you're going to be a leaf, you're going to die and be fertilizer for the seeds, which is a role to play. It's a role. That's why some people here are here to destroy the old order. There's others here that are trying to sustain it. There's others that are trying to create the new order. Creating, preserving, and destroying. The Trinity of how divine order operates in those three modes. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Really Father, Mother, and Child. So then we have then you have the tropical zodiac, which is based upon the seasons. And that when the spring equinox comes, you have equal day and equal night. That's the beginning of the year, tropically on the earth, which represents Aries, the beginning of the tropical zodiac. New life, new beginnings. And what happens in spring? Look around you. When spring comes, really just physically start paying attention. You're going to see, watch, new life is going to be all around. Baby birds, animals, new flowers. The energy is going to be springing forward. Sap in the trees and stuff is going to be rising. So that's the tropical, that's the seasonal zodiac, which is directly related to the physical, natural forms on the earth. So then we went into the four gates. Summer, spring, summer, fall, and winter, which are really the cross, squaring the circle, but also is the foundation for your religious mythology. The birth of the child at the winter, right? Birth of light. Light is a creator. The birth of the Son of God. Son, S-O-N, Son, S-U-N. It's a play on words. It's a cosmic myth that's been personalized. And now people believe the myth as literal and not understand the symbolism representing cosmic principle or concept. So you have the winter, you have the spring is a resurrection because the light now becomes dominant. It's resurrected out of the darkness. There's overcome hell. There's overcome Satan, which is the forces of darkness or negativity or the material plane, all those related type of things. Then the ascension, summer solstice ascends to the highest point and is its brightest, its highest level of illumination. It goes and sits at the right-hand side of God. Fall, when the beginning of death goes to the underworld. What happens in the fall? You have Halloween, All Saints Day. Where'd that come from? Those traditions came from the original understanding that we're dealing now with the light going into the underworld. And so we dramatized that, and then later on people forgot what it really was really all about, and then started just literalizing it. But the four gates are also critical turning points in the energy fields of the earth, where one then, if understands what the dominant quality of that time, you then create ceremony, ritual, that then harmonizes you with that energy that then elevates your consciousness. And then you take that out into the community or your national order. It harmonizes the community. It harmonizes the nation in tune with what? The cosmic order. That's what ceremonies, celebrations, festivals, and rituals are really all about. Harmonizing the collective in tune with the cosmic order. So then we went into the lunar cycle, the 28-year cycle, the lunar cycle. We talked about the relationship of the moon to birth, fertility. I talked about lunation types in terms of each individual has a certain lunation type that is a reflection of when you were born. It has influence on your particular personality or how you operate. Then we went in, we talked about fertility cycles and how you can deal with astronomical birth control. We also can really deal with determining the gender of newborns, through understanding the relationship astrologically of the moon in the signs, masculine and feminine signs, to the relationship that the moon has in the woman's natal chart, that you actually can determine the sex of a child. And there's all, we got gave you information on further research on that. Then we finished up with the maturation cycle of the 84-year cycle, which dealt with 3 periods of 28 years, broken into 4 cycles of 7 years. Went from 0, 7, 14, 21, 28, 28, 35, 42, 56, and 63, 70, 77, 84. Those 3 cycles represent the 3 phases of life: youth, adulthood, and eldership, which also can be equated with masonry. Entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason, which then gives an indication of what is the primary work or function at each level. First 28 years or first 27 years, fellow craft, entered apprentice. You should be apprenticed in some field that you develop some skill in. From 28 to 56, you should be practicing whatever that craft is. And from 56 to 84, you should then be an elder where you're mentoring, advising, shepherding those coming under you, because you should have mastered your particular area. But it's also related to spiritual development. Physical, mental, and spiritual, where the focus is. We also showed where are you within your cycle. And talk about each of those 7 years also represents a process. First year is previews of coming events. Second year, resistance. Third year is depending upon the choice you make, because there's always choice in terms of the inner or the outer, the material or the spiritual, the creative or the destructive. There's always choice. So depending upon what path you choose determines the outcome of the cycle. And so we had handouts on that so you could just understand where you are within cycle, where others around you are at in their cycle. Because there's certain needs that people have to fulfill that phase they're in. And that brought us up to this point in terms of just summarizing that. And again, I just can give you in these lessons key ideas, turn you on to documentation, point you in directions, and as you are so moved, you then can follow that. But like I say, this is it's a lifetime study. It's lives of study. But because you have an interest in this, it's a part of the cosmic summons. And they say that those who gather together like this have gathered together before. And the time we're living in now, the kind of energies that were operative during the Nile in the Kemetic civilization, those souls are reincarnating now because the symbol for the Aquarian age is the two water pitchers pouring water, which was a symbol for Hapi, which was the divinity or entity of the Nile. So the Aquarian age is the age of the energy or quality that was represented in the Nile, which is the mysteries. The mysteries. The foundation of Kemet was based upon cosmic order. When we go into geometry and architecture, you will see how temples were created to be cosmic resonators that just expressed the cosmic dimensions. So as you went into that structure, you resonated to pure cosmic law. And then if you then understood this and could go into a meditative state, then that resonance would then cause for a sympathetic resonance in you to raise your consciousness to that frequency, to enable you to gain insights. Through that experience and remembering, you can call that back and then go back to that state of mind by will, wherever you are. The first level of training is the lesser mysteries, which is techniques in terms of how to understand these things and the disciplines you go through. After a while, by practicing the techniques, you then start to internalize those things. Then is where you go into the solar mysteries. Solar mysteries is an individual journey that each individual has to go on their own into the depths of their own consciousness to reconnect with their spiritual self. These techniques, the morals, the virtues, and the liberal arts and sciences condition you to be able to travel in those distant lands and not be overcome by the demons and dragons and all the other negativities that are really within your own state of consciousness. So next week, we will start with sacred geometry. I had passed some handouts. I think they had passed some handouts before. We'll tell them about it coming up, but it'll be in that. Really though, research, look up circles, areas of circles, circumference of circles, pi, regular pi, if you can do that, look into that. And we're going to do some work on circles and graphs and that kind of thing. You got to work with it, and we're not going to get into those. We're going to get into some heavy stuff, but it's not going to be all these the way the European deal with all these, all these various numbers and all these various ways. We're going to really deal more with geometrical shapes and forms, and it's going to be interesting. Yes.
Maybe I'm backwards, but are you saying, like your mother, my mother who's gone, in the spiritual world, they're being reincarnated?
They will at some point in time, when they're called. When their quality is needed, a form will be created, and it'll draw their energy into that form, and then carry on what they have to do.
Where?
Wherever it's called.
It might not be there. Is it like, they'll be here and we won't know it, or something like that?
All that is possible. Usually, it's usually, and I'm not, there's a lot of different schools in terms of, it may be 70, 100, 120 years before you come back. It depends upon the...
In terms of when it's
who will be here? My real specific question will there be white people here? Will there be Chinese people here? Because I heard you talk about the calling upon of ancestors. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I really don't mind. I think if they don't belong to the community, they will feel that they are not part of the community. What we have had in coming to this world or to this continent, everybody has had their middle passage. As ours have been the most traumatic, maybe from the eyes which see here, but the most rich or the most beautiful experience because of the pain, and which is, pain is not bad. Pain, if you look beyond it, you get better. So ours, because of the amount of suffering it has involved, has been the most, I think, traumatic, and I don't know anyone from another community who will be happy to be among us when we invoke those ancestors. They will feel, not at peace at all. So I don't think anybody who is known in this lifetime who is not of African descent will come here. And we don't want to sound racist or we are, doing a segregation. It's just we think every people, every nation has its responsibility of working as a nation. So we will encourage the Europeans, the Chinese also to work and build their own centers of wisdom like they have been doing, which is good. And we can have a dialogue along the way because we are all of us part of this continent. If maybe our great-grandchildren want a dialogue, we will have a dialogue. But let us do something for our grandchildren. If you want a change for a grandchild, the proverb says you start with a grandfather. So we are grandfathers now, and our grandchildren will be the one who will narrate what we are trying to create. So I don't think we welcome people who are not of African descent now. We can do it in other settings, but not in this one. And maybe to add to what Orlando said earlier, we don't sound like we discriminate against people, I hope. We think that it may be possible to work closely with the Baba using dreams, but perhaps pictures will be easier because the Baba is an old man, and he has so many people who come to him. I don't want to put him into a lot, reading so many books, so many dreams journals. We can do that here, and I think we have teachers, the DC, Roland, with their studies into symbolic system, we can try to help in interpreting. Or by the Almighty has done. The Baba, I think, will take only pictures, and I don't know if the pictures, you'll be able to look into all the pictures, but I would like to take pictures of the teachers or people who facilitate processes. He can, the old man is something else. He's something else, like they say in English. I took him to him pictures last time, and he was able to uncover things which were just mind-boggling. So I hope your pictures will be enough. Maybe you can put them, hang them in his wall, and enjoy your presence in his home. Maybe do modeling.
Photographs.
Photographs. Yeah. But clearly, I think we think that along the way you will bring ideas, and Roland and Professor Dadisi will bring ideas to try to work together and see what we can do with this. And maybe next time when we meet, let us meet. I would like to meet for a whole day if we want to do good rituals. It's challenging, but it is better.
Because the idea is that when probably just once a month when they come together for a full day, maybe go to a weekend. In the interim, not segment ourselves off, maybe that can continue to practice. We're going to come together, in between the time to share, update, and that and then
One last thing I want to add is I will be bringing so many teachers who seem to think highly of me. I don't know why, but I will try to make them accessible. Some of the teachers are not really teachers, they are technicians. See, there's a difference between a technician and architect. The architect thinks about the global need of the community. he may not have powers like my grandfather did, those stuff, crazy stuff, like walking like a dog, thing like that. But he has a vision of how the things should come together. That's the architect. And it is what I would like us to look for first. And along the way, if we become technicians in some crazy stuff which happened to us, not crazy, that's a bad word. I mean, in some magical way, if not magic, in some just natural way, you develop some powers to do some stuff. That makes you a technician in that understanding. Like throwing the shades, like in reading, like in doing the Ifa divination. That is just a technician. So I will bring you a technician soon. Or if you love a woman and you love a man, you want them badly, we can bring someone to fix that. Shameful, isn't it? Because you can fix it here. But as an architect, you think globally. As a technician, you can play tricks on our human deficiencies. And or if you want to be bulletproof, I know a fool in Zaire who does that. He's good. I mean, he makes it so you'll be able to walk wherever bullets are flying and just sing your song and just chant. So I know a Bonja, he does that. It is crazy, really. I mean, you can cut him with a machete, he doesn't cut. He does crazy stuff like that. I don't know how is it useful, it's necessary. Those are technicians. But some people think it is. So if you think it is some crazy stuff like that you want to show off to your wife or your family, yes. But visions are the things we are seeking. Let us try to have a last ritual for
one comment on that. Now, is there a price to pay if you misuse that power like that?
Oh yes, most of them end up bad. Most of them end up bad. You know why? Because that spirit which has given you this to you, usually will want you to give it for free. But them guys enjoy money. And money is such a crazy thing, which, in fact, oh please, I forgot to tell you this. Don't try to dream lotto numbers in developing the site. Don't go like, see, the psychic network has some sister where we're saying, you're gonna find him. If you do this number and call a psychic network friend, I found the beautiful person I love, and tomorrow we got married, and next day we get married. Or I'm gonna dream them numbers and get money and buy myself a dream house. If you just try and to use the exercise we've been talking about earlier to find lotto numbers, it will just go, in the drain. The power will not develop. I've had a problem in the past with that. Not consciously, unconsciously. I was dreaming about lotto numbers. So I was able to develop a system which helped me to win some money. The money never stayed. I didn't know that was a mistake, but I was not greedy, but this is a mistake which happens to some of us. So I know it from experience, and the Baba made it clear to me, people shouldn't use all of this to make money. Yes.
Do you want to limit the size of this group because there are some people?
No, a family like this shouldn't be limited. The family should recreate itself in smaller circles, which will work individually. And along the way, some people will drop out because the field is useless. I think.
There's a sign-in sheet with everybody's address and number so we can stay in contact with everybody. So make sure you put your name and number for those who want to maintain contact.
Okay, I want to say thanks for what we have attempted to do today and try to overlook the limitations of the presentation. When I talk a lot of English, I get a headache. But I hope we'll develop another language. We have had one in the past. They call it Black English, and we dropped it. But we'll come up with another one, I hope, and it will be better.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully. So let us, and in the language is the one in which you will find the names and the rituals, the prayers to invoke the ancestors. This one we'll call upon the mother and father of creation.